In this video, I will show you how to do boot Ubuntu 24.04 LTS with Windows 11. We will be installing Ubuntu 24.04 alongside Windows 11 on the same drive without any data loss. This guide has been recently updated and offers one of the safest methods for setting up a dual boot on any Windows computer without risking data loss. However, it's recommended to back up your most important files to the cloud or external drive. This is a complete step-by-step tutorial on dual booting Windows 11 with Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, so be sure to watch the video until the end to avoid any confusion. Also, don't forget to check out the description for valuable information. The only requirements of this video: you need to have Windows 11 running on your PC or laptop. Next, you need empty 8GB or larger USB flash drive to create a bootable disk with Ubuntu 24.04. And lastly, you need to reserve a free space of 50GB or higher on your drive. And that being said, moving into step number 1, before installing Ubuntu, it's recommended to create a system restore point on your Windows computer. Go ahead and search for Create Restore Point and open it. Now, this utility allows you to take a snapshot of the current system state. If something goes wrong with the Ubuntu installation, you can use this backup to restore your system to normal. If you're using Windows 11 Pro, it's better to disable BitLocker encryption, otherwise it will cause issues with Ubuntu because Linux doesn't support BitLocker encryption natively. This means that Linux cannot unlock BitLocker encrypted drives by default. In my case, I'm using Windows 11 Home and this feature is disabled permanently. Now open the command prompt and type diskmgmt.msc to access the disk manager, which shows all of the connected drives along with their partitions. In my case, you can see that one drive is connected. If you notice, drive 0 has 3 partitions. The first one is the UEFI partition where the Windows bootloader is present. The second one is the main Windows, and the last one is the recovery partition. I'm going to choose the C drive to shrink the free space for Ubuntu. Right-click on it, choose Shrink Volume, and allocate a minimum of 40GB or more for Ubuntu. You have to type the value in megabytes, so it's recommended to use the calculator. For example, I want to allocate 200GB for Ubuntu. I need to multiply 200 times 1024 to get the value in megabytes. Now go ahead and type the value over here and click on Shrink. Now this will create unallocated free space. Now we have successfully created free space for Ubuntu. Now go ahead and open your favorite web browser and go to the official website of Ubuntu. Click on Get Ubuntu, then choose Download Ubuntu Desktop. Now go ahead and download the Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. Now, while it's downloading in the background, head over to the second link and download Rufus, which allows us to create a bootable USB with Ubuntu. You can also use Balena Etcher or Ventoy. Now, once both files are downloaded, place them on your computer for easier navigation. Then connect your USB stick to your computer. Now double-click to open Rufus, select the USB drive and import the Ubuntu ISO. Now leave the partition scheme and target system to default and click on Start. Now follow the prompts and accept to start creating a bootable USB with Ubuntu. Now this will take some time depending on the writing speed of your USB drive. Once it's done, it's time to boot the system into BIOS. You can turn off the PC and boot into BIOS settings using the keyboard shortcut based on your motherboard. Mostly it could be F2, F9 or Escape key. If you don't know how to boot into BIOS, I'm going to show you how to boot into UEFI boot settings from Windows. Now click on the Windows Start menu, hold the Shift key and click on Restart. Now your computer will enter into Windows Options menu. Click on Troubleshooting and Advanced Options and select UEFI Firmware Settings. Then click on Restart to boot into BIOS. In my case, my computer has booted into the startup menu and I'm gonna press F10 to access the BIOS setup. In the UEFI BIOS, enable USB boot and change the boot order by setting the USB drive as primary. Then you can enable or disable secure boot. It's up to you. I'm going to keep the secure boot enabled because Ubuntu supports this feature and there's no need to worry about it anymore. Once it's done, save the changes. Your system will boot into Ubuntu from the USB drive. If in case it fails to boot, use the boot menu to load Ubuntu install media. Now once your computer has booted into the Ubuntu live session, go ahead and connect to the internet using the Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi. Once it's done, go ahead and set the system language and click on Next. You can use accessibility settings to increase the text size. I'm going to click on Next. Now select a keyboard layout and click on Next. For an internet connection, ensure your system is connected to Wi-Fi or wired connection and click on Next. You can try Ubuntu before installing by choosing this option, but for now, we choose to install Ubuntu. Now click on it and choose Next. Then select Interactive Installation. From the Applications page, you can choose the default selection that installs essential applications, and the extended selection includes more applications. I'm going to choose an extended selection. If you're installing Ubuntu on a laptop, go ahead and connect it to the power source. Now tick both options to optimize your computer by installing recommended drivers in this section, then click on Next. If you prefer to install Ubuntu on a separate drive, use the second option. Additionally, you can opt for manual installation to create partitions manually. However, for now, let's choose the first option, which automates partition creation using the free space we have allocated earlier and installs Ubuntu alongside the Windows Boot Manager. Then click on Next. Now create a user account. Select your time zone and click on Next. Now this is the summary of the installation. Click on Install Ubuntu. Now it will take a few minutes, so sit back, relax, and please be patient. Now once it's done, click on Restart. Upon restart, you will be prompted to remove the USB drive and press Enter. Now by default, it will boot into GRUB Boot Manager. From there, you can choose to boot into Windows 11 or Ubuntu. For now, let's boot into Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. If you want an in-depth review of Ubuntu 24.04, check the video link in the description. Then inside Ubuntu, open the terminal and run this command to edit the GRUB configuration file and change the default GRUB timeout to 30 seconds. Now once it's done, save the changes by pressing Ctrl+O and exit with Ctrl+X. Now type this command to update the GRUB configuration, then reboot your computer. Now you can see the GRUB time limit has increased to 30 seconds. As a bonus part of the video, if in case you don't like Ubuntu 24.04 and decide to uninstall it, reboot your computer back to Windows 11, then open the command prompt and type the following command to launch the disk manager. Here, next to C drive, we can see a primary healthy partition of around 200 GB, which is related to Ubuntu. You go ahead and remove this partition by right-clicking on it and choose Delete Volume. Now you will see unallocated free space that you can use and expand Windows. Right-click on the C drive and choose to extend the volume. Now once it's done, we need to delete the GRUB boot manager present inside the Windows UEFI partition. To do this, open command prompt as an administrator, then type disk part. Now type list disk to display all the connected drives to the PC. In my case, I have only one drive connected where Windows and Ubuntu boot files are installed. I'm going to select this drive by typing this command. Then type list partition to list out all of the partitions on this drive. You might see 3+ partitions. Look for the system partition or UEFI partition. Now mostly it's the first partition. Select this partition by typing this command. Once it's selected, type assign letter is equals to R to mount this partition temporarily. Now type exit to get out of the disk part prompt. Now type R:. This will change the directory. Here type dir to list the contents of that partition. Now change the directory into UEFI by typing this command. Now if I type dir, this will list the contents of the UEFI folder. Here you can see Ubuntu and Windows boot files. Do not touch the Windows and boot folders. We need to delete the Ubuntu folder. To do so, type this command and press enter. And that's it, Ubuntu has been successfully removed. Now restart your computer. It should boot your system directly into Windows 11 without any boot issues. This is how you properly set up a dual boot on your Windows computer with Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. And that's pretty much it. What do you guys think about it? If you have any questions or queries, do post them in the comment section below and I will try to help you. Thank you so much for watching. This has been KSK Royal. I will see you in the next one.